I met up with Julio at a coffee shop in Fort Worth, and he had a printed out script.
Dang, he was dedicated.
He came prepared, he came correct, and he had notes, and he's like, this doesn't work, this sucks, this is not good. He was just like ripping me a new one, and we laugh about it now, but he was like, what he said to me, and why I was so receptive to the feedback was because he said, I know what you're trying to do, I can see it, this isn't it. He's like, I want to be in that movie, I don't want to be in this movie.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ade Talks To. This is a show where I want to talk to interesting people from all sorts of places. I wanted to definitely start off with someone I feel like I could relate to. So here I am with Merced, writer, director, producer. Nice to meet you. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, dude, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Look, thanks for being here. I
Of
really appreciate it. First things first, you're going to get into all your collegiate career stuff first. But I wanted to ask you, how'd you get started with filmmaking? Like, how'd you fall in love with all of it?
Big question to kick it off. I knew I always loved cinema. I always loved movies. I'm from South Dallas. I'm born and raised in Oak Cliff. I didn't think that someone like me, who looked like me, who talked like me, had any business making movies. Like a Latino making movies was just like, there's no way. I remember I was maybe 12, 13 years old. My dad was a mechanic. He came home one day with a series of like DVDs, fucking VHS tapes that like one of his clients gave him, I think. And that's when I like started to fall in love. I spent all summers, weeknights, weekdays just watching movies. It was just trash bags worth of movies. It was crazy. I don't know how this guy got a hold of this many movies. And I knew I always loved movies. I sort of kept it almost like a secret because I felt in a way maybe guilty that like to have this like secret.
Yeah.
I would record little short films on my LG Chocolate, my first cell phone at the time with my brother, which only him and I knew about it, and we didn't even tell our parents. And I went to UT Austin. I didn't go to film school though. I studied advertising.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. And it wasn't until the summer of 2015 when I did an internship at NBC Universal in New York. So I moved to Manhattan for 3 months, and I got to work at 30 Rock, and just being at NBC, being in New York is just so like inspiring. And I thought, well, all these cats here chasing their dreams, chasing their passions, like I ought to be doing the same. And yeah, I went back to my senior year at UT and just one production internship after another, let's do another, and then I just taught myself how to do it, man. But I always, like, the consistent through line is I just love movies, and I wanted to make them.
I feel that. I didn't know your dad was a mechanic. Is that part of Manos de Oro?
For sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, my dad's a mechanic. That movie is like it's ripping right out of my life. Okay. You know, I'm someone whose life very much inspires the cinema that they make. Okay. I don't know how else to do it otherwise. Like I feel like I have to have a personal angle in, otherwise I feel like I'm like screaming into the void.
I feel that.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, my dad's a mechanic, been a mechanic all his life, just manual labor working outside. So you can imagine like having a dad like that, it's, you know, you spend a lot of summers in the heat.
I feel that, yeah. It makes a lot of sense now.
It builds character, bro, I'll tell you.
I was going to ask you, so you were speaking about like, you feel like, why would like a Latino like be making films? So who were your influences like growing up?
Well, I eventually found influences that like really rooted me. I mean, you look at people like Alfonso Cuarón, Guillermo del Toro, Alejandro González Iñárritu. Like these are just masters of the craft. I remember being in college when Iñárritu won for The Revenant, you know, or Cuarón winning for Gravity. It's like that is so cool. Like they're Mexican. I'm Mexican American. I was born here. Like it's like profound to see that. And I didn't really feel like at the time I hadn't done the internship at NBC, and I thought that is amazing. Like I want to do that. You know, I want to tell stories. I had this like just burning passion to just like, you know, get out there and do it, and I did, you know. But it really started with them, seeing people that look like me do it. But I love movies of all kinds, of David Fincher movies, Spielberg movies. I mean, just kind of the classics that like everyone else loves. And as you start to like go down rabbit holes and rabbit holes and rabbit holes, your world opens up to international cinema and like old classics from the 40s and 50s, the French New Wave, the Italian neorealism, German expressionism. You geek out and you fall in love with it, man. And I know I did. So
that was great because I remember even me being like a black person looking up to like other black filmmakers. I remember seeing Iñárritu like winning back to back. It was like the first
It's
person to win.
It's crazy.
Since like the '60s or something.
It's crazy.
That
like
insane.
it makes no sense.
Yeah,
it makes no sense. But he did it, and these are masters again that are still doing it. Like they're still putting out great work. And I know Cuarón just wrapped up a 8-9 month long TV series for Apple in London, and it's like they just keep going at it, man. Like it's interesting because Cuarón was a master of cinema, and now he's kind of transitioning into TV a bit, and like that's cool. Like what opportunities are there for us, in the future? And I love
him. I have a Children of Men poster in my room.
Yeah, don't get me started, bro. Don't get me started. Children of Men. It's so good.
So now I have to ask you, because I almost, or I could have been tempted to kind of go this path when I went to college. What made you go into advertising and not try to do film, like for real?
It was fear, dude. To be honest with you, it was fear that like this just wasn't a real thing. Again, like you have to keep in mind, like no one in my family, like they're all either immigrants or they like work manual labor jobs here in Dallas or just all over Texas. Like that's not a real thing that we do. Like no, and like why would I be the first artist in the family? Like that is just not a. It's so far and away a dream that like you don't even let it permeate your head. Like it's not to be thought about. But I knew I really love movies. Yeah. So advertising to me felt like a safe enough.
You can still do some sort of storytelling.
In a way, yeah, but it's also creative. Like at the end of the day, like it's creative. There will always be a need for social media jobs, for marketing jobs. Like that wasn't ever like I wouldn't have trouble finding a job, And again, it was just fear, not planted by anybody, maybe other than my own like lived-in experiences, but I would say it was just fear. Yeah, I didn't know any better, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't change it. I would keep to what I did, just because I think. It even now, like I still feel like I have a chip on my shoulder. I had to teach myself how to make movies. I read a lot of books, watched a shit ton of YouTube videos, and you learn by doing, trial by fire. All the internships I did, all the jobs I got after my job, after I graduated, you just kind of learn on the fly. And there's really no better experience than experience itself. I guess,
my mom, lawyer, dad, accountant.
Wow.
Uncle who was very present in my life, also an accountant.
Yeah.
Everybody, very rigid sort of like careers in their life.
Very noble pursuits. And like then, there's an A to B to C. There's a trajectory.
And then there's me. Oh, I want to make movies. It's like, we don't know about that. But I knew I couldn't do anything else. So like, it was one of those, since I'm an only child, I think my mom she couldn't risk falling out with me because of like what I wanted to choose. I think it's worked out for so far.
I think it's worked out too for you. Yeah, I would say I can relate to that. I mean, I'm not an only child. I have 2 siblings. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. My brother works in like computer science. He's a very technical person, but that is again it's a job. It makes good money. You'll have a family, and there's life. My sister wants to work in the medical space. So again, these are things that are easy to understand and comprehend for parents that come with this like immigrant mentality. Like you gotta hustle, you gotta make money, you gotta have a family. And then I'm the black sheep artist of the family, and it was, for me, I mean, I'm fortunate now that my parents are like my biggest supporters, and I love them to bits. But it was tough at first, telling them like, hey, I kind of want to pivot to be an artist. It was so hard.
Your brother's older than you or younger than you?
Younger. I'm the oldest.
Because it could have been bad if your older one was trying to produce the
I know.
So you brought up YouTube University. I too, even though I went to film school, I think majority of the skills I learned was definitely from YouTube University. Yeah. What advantages or disadvantages do you think you got by not going to film school and learning that way?
That's a great question. I think I'm not the kind of person that'll say screw film school, like fuck that, like it's a bad experience. Like no, I think it's awesome, like that you get to walk away from university at the age that you do with experience, with short films that you've produced, that you were put in a bubble and this like atmosphere to where you kind of have to. But in my own way, like I did that myself, and I didn't have anybody else to do it. And I take that on. I'm like, well, I'll show them. I have a very I'll show them. Like, trust me, I've had hundreds of people like write me off or just like, it's okay, kid. Okay, you want to? I have a very all right, I'll show you.
Okay.
And I showed them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say that the advantage for me was having a chip on my shoulder, like feeling that I like to an extent, like stress. I like feeling with my back against the wall.
There's something about
a little bit
feeling like this could go bad.
Yeah.
That makes the film so much better.
It makes anything so much better, I think. And not many people operate that way. I do. I like feeling like urgency. I like having urgency and then having agency to then like operate within that. So yeah, it just taught me how to be self-sufficient and independent and just like find my network. I mean, I'm telling you, when I made my first movie in 2017, I had nobody like to start with. It was all just Facebook crew calls and casting calls. I knew nothing. I knew no one. I knew what I was doing. I just read books. I watched these YouTube videos. But I learned, you know, and I think if you love it as much as you do, and Tarantino said this, like if you love cinema and if you love movies with like a passion, like you want to do nothing else, you can't help but make a good movie. Yeah. That took me a while, but I found my way, you know.
We're gonna get to that, don't worry. Yeah. I know you were a writer director just like me.
Yeah.
And you know, Coron, he writes some of the stuff, and Guillermo definitely does.
Of course.
Is being a writer director important to you, especially like how you're saying you probably want to tell a lot of stories that are, you know, ingrained in your roots, or do you see yourself in the future like maybe like taking more scripts from other people, written by other people?
I've been having this debate in my head a lot lately. I am a writer first. I'd argue I'm more in my head a writer than I am a director, because I think writing's always come naturally to me. I've always been a good writer, you know. I was always the guy that wrote the best essays in English school. You know, I'm very fortunate. I went to private school, and I got put through a really great education thanks to my parents. And I was always just like I would just get a lot of encouragement from my English teachers, like, "Oh, Merced, like your essays are really good." Like they would just that validation helped a lot, because I thought, well, yeah, I am a good writer. You know, I didn't know what to do with it at the time. I was so young, and I certainly didn't even think movies would enter the fold at that point. But it's important for me to tell the stories that I want to tell. I get offered a lot of like scripts and short films and things like, direct my movie, bro. And it's like, I'm sure it's great, but no. Yeah. I have no interest, or I don't want to do anything that isn't mine. And that's selfishly. And I have no shame about that. I'm a writer, director, you know, I'm a filmmaker. I'm not someone who's, you have to understand, I'm not someone who's like very prolific. I take big gaps between movies, you know. With this last project that I did, it took me years to write, and it's a short film. Like that shouldn't take that long. But I'm a slow writer, but I put like everything. I bare my soul into like the work that I do. I'm not prolific in the sense that I won't just make a YouTube short film and just throw it up on Vimeo or whatever just to say I made something. Everybody, I feel like we're in an age where to stay relevant is to stay alive, and to put something out there means relevance, you know. I don't do that. I don't mind not being relevant, you know, but I'd rather wait on telling the right story. And if I'm going to make a movie, it better damn well because I have something to say, because I have something to say, you know. And with the Mourning of, with Manos de Oro, just like here, you left me all my films. I've made 4 now. I've had something to say, but after every one I bleed out. Like I'm still bleeding out after my last one. It hurts, you know. There's like the post-movie blues are very much a real thing, but for me, because I just put so much into them, I'm just like awash, you know?
I can relate, especially to like that writer part. It was something like, I remember growing up, I was like, I want to be a director, I want to be a director, but lately, in like the recent years, I like to reiterate that I'm a writer, actually. Yeah. Like these movies don't get directed before I write anyways.
Yeah.
And the writing process is always the hardest. I direct for one day for the most part. Yeah. And it's over. I'm actually writing as I'm directing.
We're always writing. Editing. Well, the thing, directing starts and stops when you get to set and leave the set. Yeah. You know, in a way. I'd say writing, if you're a writer, you don't turn that off. And I think
up until
you would
marketing.
No, yeah, I mean, but dude, like, I'm always like, I'm sure you probably, like, every writer who's a filmmaker, right? Like, we have notes in our phones. Yeah. Like, you hear something, you're like, that'd be a good line for a movie.
I have that
like,
exact same
or like, you have like, or like, you see something and you're like, that'd be a good scene if I like, you know, and you just kind of jot it down. You know, you might never use it, but like, in a way, you're always writing. The writer never turns off. You know, you're in bed at night, your mind is racing 1,000 miles an hour. You're in the shower, you just kind of come up with an idea. Like, to be a writer is a lifestyle less than a job. You know what I mean?
Noticed my favorite movies are from writer directors. Nolan's my favorite director, director. Chazelle, Coogler, even like The Person in Wildflower. There's an authenticity that you hear or you feel in writer directors that I'm not saying you can't get that from other people. No. Wolf of Wall Street is probably my second favorite movie. Was not written by Scorsese, but there's something that you can tell with like Moonlight. You can just tell like somebody really cared about what they were directing.
Well, and that's to kind of answer the second part of your previous question. I can see myself directing something that someone else wrote, but I cannot write something. I cannot direct something that I didn't write. Like, you know what I'm saying? Actually, no. Let me.
You can't write something that somebody else directed.
Yeah, I can't write a piece to give to someone else.
Unless I'm dead.
Yeah, maybe. It was, again, I put so much into the script, and to not see that vision fulfilled in the way that I want to, you know, it's a challenge. Now, that being said, there is a massive proliferation of television, you know, and like it being like, excuse me, I have to sneeze. Whew.
Very good.
There's a huge wave into television these days that a lot of indie auteur directors even like they're stepping into, like Cuarón being an example. You know, I can see myself doing that very well. I'm very protective of my filmography.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be, you know. But with TV and commercials, the cool thing about TV is that it's not a director's medium; it's a showrunner's medium. And I'm very fortunate. I did a program with Ryan Murphy, the Half Initiative, in October of last year. For a month, I was in LA on the Fox lot, like just learning how to make a TV show, like shadowing a masterful director. And it was unreal, but I got to see like the ins and outs of TV and what that was like. And you learn really quickly, like, oh, director's not God on set. Yeah. It's not God at all. It's showrunner. On a film set, director's top. It's a director's medium. The showrunner is the one that keeps everything afloat and keeps a through line through all of it, right? So a director in TV is a guest director. Yeah. You know?
Sometimes,
yeah. You come in.
Unless you're like Mike White on, like White Lotus, where everything is you.
But Mike White's also the showrunner. So like when you're a showrunner director, like you kind of can do anything. But like for the most part, it's always different. The director comes in, director comes out. An episode 2 or 3, and you're in or out. You don't write. You come in, you shoot, you direct, you work with the actors, and you peace out. I would love to do that. If I can just do like an episode of Breaking Bad or Mandalorian for like an episode or 2, like, and then peace out and like get enough money to make my little indie feature films. Like that's one of my favorite directors. Is Alonso Ruiz Palacios. He's a Mexican director. He directs TV. He directed TV for Vida, the Lin-Manuel Miranda show. He's directing an episode or 2 of Andor this season, and that's great. This is a master filmmaker, writer, director, and he just wrapped a feature film in New York that I had some friends work on. That is an indie feature. So yeah, TV pays really well, and they allow us the opportunity to make the movies that we want to make and protect that filmography. So to me, that's exciting to me as a career trajectory. I'm not there yet, probably won't be for a while, but that is where I'd like to be. You know, TV is like the day job, if you will. By night, the passion truly is just feature filmmaking all the way through.
Television's a scary frontier that I want to get into eventually, because huge Breaking Bad fan. I love Insecure. Too. And I'm scared of like, is either I write 300 pages or I am willing to do a writer's room and then still let somebody else direct the episode. I'm like, I am too protective. But it's hopefully something I'll get over in the future.
I'd like to, like, all that to say, at some point I would like to helm a TV show as like a writer-director. Same. Like, like you do, I just recently finished Succession.
Same.
It's so good. Yeah. It's so good. And who's the director of that?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on both of them.
Yeah, the showrunner. But Mark Mylod directed a majority of the episodes. But like the showrunner, I mean, he wrote all of it and he showran the show. Like, but you do have a writer's room, so it's a world I'm not quite fully immersed in yet. I'd like to be though. I'm open to that. I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not anti-television or anti-streaming. I think they have a lot of problems. I think as we're seeing now with the strikes.
Seeing right now.
Literally, we're seeing that right now. Yeah, but as a medium, I'm open to it in the future. Okay. You know?
Okay. I have a question. So I remember you were on the panel and you said this. This is not my words. You said this. You said your first 2 films are not the best.
They're not.
But then the next film you do is Manos de Oro, which is a masterwork. What changed between those first 2 and then Manos?
Well, thank you for saying that. I think trial and error. I mean, I messed up a lot on those sets, and that's maybe to no fault of my own, other than just my inexperience, perhaps. Because again, I hadn't made movies before. I didn't get the film school experience where I could like screw up on like a shitty short film in college. You know, I didn't have that experience. So yeah, that was my film school, like learning how to make them, screwing up, not knowing how to tell stories. And they were, to be honest with you, they were mostly problems in the script that I couldn't quite like pinpoint. And my directing wasn't as strong as I'd say maybe is now. But I think it's 2 things. It's like, it was a number of things actually, not just 2 things. I felt urgency because I had made 2 short films that I paid for out of pocket. And, you know, I did some crowdfunding here and there, but I even now I still have a day job, you know?
Same.
Yeah, right. So I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't live a very lavish, like crazy lifestyle. All my money up until now has been a reinvestment into my cinema because I love it that much. You know, I'd sell my liver if I have to make the movies that I want to. But I felt urgency because I had made 2 of them now that did nothing in the way of advancing my career. They got into like some regional festivals, but like that does nothing for you. And I like to hill I'll die on about festivals because like festivals only matter when you get into the good ones.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't get into the ones that I wanted to do, like to put me to the next level of my career. And I thought, oh boy, if this one doesn't, like, if Manos de Oro doesn't hit, I have no choice. It has to be good.
It goes back to that stress you were talking about.
It has to. I have no choice. It has to be good. I was floating conversations in my head where I was like, is this sustainable? Can I keep doing this? You'll have nights where you're like, no, after this one, if it doesn't go well, like maybe it's time to like really kind of boots on the ground, like just kind of stabilize. Then there's other nights where you're like, no, like I'll die trying.
Yeah.
And I'd rather let that voice in my head win. And I'm glad that I did because I felt urgency to make Manos the best that it could be. But also, I kept watching movies too. Like the more you do this, the more movies you watch, you can't help. I mean, unless you're an idiot, you cannot help like soak that in. Like being on set, watching movies by the masters, watching Bergman, watching Tarkovsky. Like you have to learn. You have to watch, and you have to study this. You can never lose a student mentality. Even now, like with the decent amount of success that I've had with my last short film and hopefully my next one, dude, if you think you've got it figured out and if you think I've made it and I'm a success, I'm a hit, that's a death sentence. You know, you always have to keep a student mentality. Again, always have your back against the wall. Always feel like I don't like being the smartest person in any room. You know, so I like to meet people. When you meet everyone's hand, you shake their hand. You're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I learn from people. I like to link up. I don't like being. I let my work be as good as it can be, but I don't treat myself like a uppity like filmmaker. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's just we play dress up for a living. You know?
You tell people to go be people they're not for a living. You can relax.
Yeah. You can chill.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that serious. It is serious. We take it seriously, but it's not that serious.
Yeah. I had a question about Manos.
Yeah.
Obviously, massive career shift for you. How was the experience working with like Julio, and just like you do tackle very tough subjects. So, like, how was that? It's also did he also like help you with guidance on certain things like that?
Helped me. He held my hand the whole way through. This is a funny story. I met Julio through a funny circumstance. I messaged him on Instagram and I sent him a very sweet message and I just said, hey, I'm a big fan of yours. And I've mentioned this story a number of times on other things, but basically, we linked up through Instagram and we met up at I sent him my script and he thought it needed work and I'm like, okay, I'm open to that. I'm not a writer who's like uppity or like precious with it. I think we have a tendency to be. And it's fair. I mean, I say this, but you can be precious. You can be protective. You're like, it's my material. I poured everything into it. But I met up with Julio at a coffee shop in Fort Worth, and he had a printed out script.
Dang, he was dedicated.
He came prepared. He came correct, and he had notes. And he's like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This sucks. This is not good. He was just like ripping me a new one. And we laugh about it now, but he was like, what he said to me, and why I was so receptive to the feedback was because he said, I know what you're trying to do. I can see it. This isn't it. He's like, I want to be in that movie. I don't want to be in this movie.
Okay.
And he's like, I see something in you. Like, keep going. Rewrite it. Like, this is... And I don't know. In my head, I thought, far be it for me to deny the feedback and the notes of a guy who's worked with Denis Villeneuve and with Jon Favreau and with all these just masters.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. No, he's just an up and coming actor. He's got a career in this. But so I would say I was open to it. I took the time to work on the script and rewrote it, and then he came back and was like, "This is the one I want. This is good."
Okay.
And it was a much better script. I had settled on the script. I wrote something that was complacent and not good enough. And it was. We pushed it further. All the subjects that you're talking about machismo, about mental health. I made a version of it that was more intense, more personal, more passionate. It just really got in there more, and that was. I owe that to Julio, and because he pushed me. And I always tell people, like, Manos de Oro feels like the first movie I made because it's the kind of cinema that I want to keep making, you know? And I'm very proud of it. It'll be a mantelpiece for me for a long time, for everybody that worked on it. And Julio loves it just as much, but he's obviously worked with a lot of people that, you know, are heroes of mine, and the experience of that itself, like, it couldn't have been better. Day one on the set, I was like, oh my God, this guy, like, how am I gonna, I was 24, 25
Is that nerve-wracking?
It was, until I yelled cut after take one. And I'll tell you why, because I thought, oh my God, like, I'm gonna have notes, and it's gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna listen to you. Like, how do you get a group of people that have worked with, like, some of the best people who have these incredible experiences with just master filmmakers? How does a 24, 25-year-old kid, like, convince them of to listen to them, to steer the ship? And I got to set, and it was life-changing, because they were just so giving of themselves as artists. They just listened, we collaborated. It wasn't just me directing, it was a collaboration with Julio, with Jero, with Richard. Jero played the son in Manos de Oro. Richard played, like, the truck driver at the beginning of the movie. It was awesome to have and I'm very fortunate that they gave themselves to me. And I just worked with Julio on another movie that I just wrapped a month ago. Again, same experience, just giving, just a collaborator comes with ideas, we work it out, best idea wins, you know? It's never just do this because I said so, or Julio going, no, I'm not gonna do that because that's stupid. Like, we talk about it, and that's the dream. That changed my life.
That's the sign of a good director.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make the best vision. You don't want to make your best vision. You want to make the best vision.
I always tell people, best idea wins. Like, if a PA comes to me on set with, like, an idea or something, which I know is, like, kind of taboo, like, don't talk to the director. I don't fucking care, dude. Like, give me the best idea. Because we take credit. I mean, really, shamefully or not shamefully, we take credit for it at the end of the day. Because if I always tell people, I give the same speech on every single one of my movies when I get to set. This is as much yours as it is mine now. You know, so act like it. Like, it is as much yours as it is yours as it is yours. Like, it's not just Merced's movie. Take ownership. The last thing I want to hear on any one of my sets is, I don't know, man, it's your movie. It's your movie, man. I don't know. Like, no, it's your movie, because guess what? If I get into Sundance, you get into Sundance. And if we win something, if I win something, you win something. So let's just at least pretend that we give a shit. You know, so I'm very much about that, like, spreading the wealth. And then when we do win stuff, you'll see me on social media all the time. I spread the wealth. You know, it's never just me. I firmly believe you do not climb Mount Everest alone. I'm nothing if not, like, the benefactor of a lot of, like, incredibly talented people who are way more talented than me. As a director, we just tell you what to do. You know.
And I work with the same people because I think they bring the best out of me first.
Yeah.
I've been working with very, very similar crew. My last 3 projects, including this one.
Yeah.
I love you guys. They're here. Don't worry about it. Because I think they bring the best out of me, and it's not just all me. And I remember Ari Aster was talking to Joaquin, because Beau Was Afraid just came out, and Joaquin said that he told Ari the first day, because Ari may have been, like, holding back on, like, his notes, and Joaquin comes up to him, he's like, are you just some kid that's just happy Joaquin Phoenix is in your movie? Because he felt like he wasn't giving me any pushback or any notes, and I think then their relationship started to grow.
That can be terrifying. I mean, I can't imagine casting Joaquin Phoenix in anything, and then
you're
I
like,
don't know,
can you tweak it this way?
Yeah, but again, you have to remember, these are artists.
Yeah.
That they get as much out of their working relationship with you as you do with them. You know, so it is a push and pull. It isn't just them fancying themselves as, like, the staple actor in your movie. And, like, no, it's a collaboration. Like, we got work to do. Like, let's get in the trenches. That being said, you know, not everyone's so lucky. Like, sometimes actors are just divas, and they just, you know, they will. And I've worked with them, certainly. Like, they just are rude, and they're not collaborative, and they're just there for a paycheck, or there because, I don't know. I mean, this gets to a larger point, I think, but I think what we do is inherently really cool, and, like, it's fun. I don't like people, actors, artists who just do this because it's cool to talk about at parties or post about on social media to get flame emojis and, like, you know what I mean? I see that all the time.
Yeah.
I do what I do because I love it, not because I want reactions out of people and likes or clicks or fucking whatever. You know, some people might, but
I love it. I do it because I can't sleep at night sometimes. Like,
yeah. This is a cross that we bear, but it's a fun one.
I had a question about the morning of your newest short film. Proof of concept. I actually literally just shot. I think we spoke.
Yeah.
We both spoke about proof of concepts before we shot them.
Yeah.
I know my proof of concept started. It started from that scene. And then I wrote kind of around that scene.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go about kind of like directing a piece of basically what is going to be a whole?
Well, that's a great question. This is my first time speaking publicly about the morning of, actually, which I'm really excited about.
Exclusive.
Yeah. So this is, like you said, the morning of. It's a short film proof of concept for a feature that I'm currently working on right now.
How long is it, by the way?
The short is, we're editing it right now. Like you just started post. I'd probably say about anywhere between 20-25 minutes. Which I make long shorts. I do, but I don't know. Shamefully. I like long shorts because I just do. I think that is something that with all my shorts I've kind of stuck to, like right around that range, like after 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Manos de Oro was 33 minutes, which is like crazy long for a short, but we'll stick to that range. I think I feel comfortable with that, with what we got. But yeah, then the feature film, like this is well, actually, let me back up to the short. This is think of this as like a year zero to what will eventually be like the longer feature film. I'm working on it right now. It's tough because I try to be as split brain as possible and try to work on as many things as possible, but I can only take in so much. I have a job, writing my short, working on the feature, like it's a lot. So you have to kind of find the time to like work it in. So I'm working on it right now while I edit the short film. Mm-hmm. But it was, that's why it took me so long to work on the short, because I knew what was at stake, right? And I think you haven't gone through this experience, you sort of know, right?
I wrote it like 6 years ago.
Yeah, well, there you go. Like I don't know. There's even more, any film you make, there's a lot at stake, right? But there's even more so with the proof of concept for something that will eventually be, because the short film has to exist on its own two legs,
exactly,
without the knowledge that a feature film is eventually coming. Mm-hmm. Like, it just pretend that feature film will never get made. That short still has to be its own thing. You can't end it going, wait till 5 years after the feature. You can't do that.
But then it also does have to speak to something larger, and that's also a problem.
Yeah, I think emotionally, thematically, yes, mm-hmm, but to leave on a cliffhanger for a film that might not happen, you might not make the feature. That might be your second, third mm-hmm feature, you know? So I think the short has to be its own piece. Yeah. Like, let it live and die on its own. That's number one. Number two, what was equally really overwhelming is that if that short film doesn't do well on the festival circuit, and if it doesn't just have the success that you hope to, you may as well kiss that feature goodbye, you know? Mm-hmm. Because you're hedging all your bets on this proof of concept for what? The feature. Yeah. You want that proof of concept to do well. Yeah. If it doesn't do well, then you're gonna have a really hard time getting the feature off the ground.
And honestly, you're only making the short for the feature. Like, I would have rather just jumped to the feature.
Exactly. No, trust me, man. The amount of people that tell me, why are you making another short after Manos? Make a feature. I'm like, brother, I've got another mountain to climb, you know, and I want to prove to people, hey, this style, this voice, this theme, I have something to say, mm-hmm, and I can do it better than Manos. Watch me, you know, and it gets back to that attitude, like, watch me. You'll see.
I love that. So we're nearing the end of the interview, and I have a segment called Ade's Choice. So there's a little quick fire,
hit me,
this or that, no pressure. First things first, Alfonso Cuarón or Alejandro Iñárritu?
Cuarón.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
it's the right answer, by the way. But why?
I don't think there's a right answer. I think Cuarón, I feel more connected to his movies, and it's nothing more than an emotional decision, I'd say. I'd say Cuarón. Okay. I look up to Cuarón so much.
Cuarón or Guillermo?
Still Cuarón.
Okay, I respect.
And trust me, and I love Guillermo del Toro. Okay. I love that man. Yeah. I love everything he does. I love the way his brain works. I think Guillermo del Toro is the most cerebral, mm-hmm, but Cuarón's filmmaking style is just...
I remember watching Gravity that day came, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember the first time you saw like a collision in space, and you didn't hear anything. You're like, oh, this is different.
Y tu mamá también, Roma, Gravity, Children of Men. I mean, dude, it's
even
just...
Prison of Azkaban.
Yeah, dude. No, there's not a bad mark on that man's career, in my opinion.
Same. Pre-production, production, or post-production?
I like post, actually.
Really?
I like post. Post is, to me, the most overwhelming, honestly, and it is the most fun, too, because that's when your movie actually gets made. I think you know this as a director. Yeah. Watching the first rough cut of anything, like, you want to blow your brains out. It's like you think, oh, that's it. I'm calling it. I'll never do this again. This is terrible.
Scorsese said, they said, if you look at your first draft and you don't like it, you're not in the right field.
Yeah, no, dude, it is so humiliating to watch your first cut because it's not sound mix. Like the audio sucks. Like it's not. It's rough. It's a rough cut.
Yeah.
It's not what you want it to be, and we walk into these things with a very, I don't know, with a certain kind of vision, and
you can hear and see the movie in your head.
Yeah.
And this isn't it.
Yeah. So it's, but it's also the most fun because like therein lies an opportunity to just like make it the thing that you want. So you chip away bit by bit. You just sculpt and sculpt and sculpt the music, sound design, the everything of it in post. Like when you finally start to see it come to life, you're like, huh, I don't hate that much.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm such a 3D director from the script. Like I'm reading and I already know what it looks like. So I feel like I've already edited it already in my head.
Yeah.
So I cheat a bit that way. I would probably go production. There's something about all the people on set. We're here to make one thing, and it's like we just get to kind of like hit it out.
It's tough because I love all of it. I love being on set. I mean, there's a saying, right? Like the worst day on set is better than the best day anywhere else. You know, like and I love being on set. But I think getting into the weeds with an editor, with a composer, with the sound designer who have different opinions in you, because like on set you're director, you're God, you know, you're the one everyone looks to. But then when you get to post, I give everybody agency and enable them to go like, hey, script is one thing, like throw it out. Like this happens a lot in all my movies, but especially in this one, you have to if you're a writer director especially, you have to disassociate the writer from the director.
Yes.
Because I'm on set as a director going, that writer's a fucking moron. Like, no, like we're gonna change that. Stupid. You know? Exactly. I don't know what that is. Exactly. Even in post, you're like, no, that's terrible. Like edit it this way instead. We're just doing that right now in my movie. I wrote it a certain way that the editors are kind of sticking to, and I thought, no, like do it this way instead, because that writer's wrong, but the director now is right and the editor now is right.
Yeah.
Best idea wins. That's that across the board for everything, you know?
I feel that. I have a few quick fire
Hit me.
Deakins ones.
Woo.
2049 or Skyfall?
2049. 2049, I'd say.
I'll let you slide.
Yeah, okay.
1917 or No Country for Old Men?
No Country. Easy No Country. That's
okay.
Easy No Country.
2049 or No Country?
No Country.
Really?
No Country, dude, that will go into the annals of history as one of the all-time great movies. 1917, well, of course, but like I think No Country is
That's your favorite Deakins shop movie, or just his favorite, or your favorite?
It's
Deakins
one of
movie?
my favorites. Period. I love that. I love that movie so much. I remember watching that movie for the first time in college. I was just blown away, and I was made aware of that movie because we were studying the book, the Cormac McCarthy book, in my English class, and they showed us a scene. What scene did they show us? I think it was the scene at the ending, actually, of No Country, where
With
he's like, I had a
Yeah.
dream. It was a fire in the horn, and then I woke up, and then the ticking, click, 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 and then it ends. I just thought that is profound, and I like sought that movie out immediately, and I watched it so many times over and over again. That's like one of the first times that I actually like genuinely fell in love with a movie. Cinematography side, of course, like it's incredible. Deakins just shot the shit out of it, but just the Coen Brothers, the script, how restrained it is, because there's no music in that.
Yeah, which you don't realize until somebody tells you.
Yeah, there's no music, and like that is a testament to just how well it works as a thriller and just as a dramatic piece. That like you don't need anything other than just what's in front of you.
I can respect that. Writing or directing?
Ask me tomorrow, and the answer might be different. But right now, directing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a writer, and I will always call myself a writer-director and not a director-writer. But right now, I just had such a blast making the morning of my last movie that I feel like I feel like I'm right where I need to be as a director. You know.
Okay. I'll let you slide on that. I would say writing.
Okay. Good. Yeah. No. There's no right or wrong answer. I think.
Amazing.
Yeah. I enjoy being a leader. I like rallying the troops. You know. I was always the guy in school when like we had group projects. I was just like inherently elected, like the captain, the captain, or the captain, the leader. I like that position. I like that stress. I'm like, bring it on. Like I will lead us to the promised land.
I like that.
You know.
Last one.
Yeah.
Okay. So your first AD when you're going over, or the sound mixer constantly putting the boom in frame?
Ask that again.
So your first AD, you're going over.
Yeah.
Like time, or the sound mixer consistently, like a boom operator consistently putting boom frames?
That's tough because that's happened to me so much, so many of my movies. Which one? The better of the two
Which
evils?
one
Lesser of
would
two
you
evils?
rather take?
Yeah. Oh man, I would say probably my. Oh man, this is funny. I'd say probably the AD, and I'll tell you why. Because as much as I hate it in the moment, like it's just like, oh, let me make my movie.
Yeah.
I will tell you, something comes out of that in that you have to pivot and you have to just get it in a wide or like in a 2-shot, and you thought you were going to get it in coverage, like boom, 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 like I insert, like something good comes out of just like limitations in that way and restrictions. So I think on the fly, in the moment I hate it, but on the fly, something like really beautiful sparks and comes out. So I would say probably that, but I'm not happy about it. What would you pick?
I would agree. I love my first AD game.
Yeah?
I love it. Yes, tell me I have 1 minute to do 30 shots.
Yeah.
But Merced just said he hates all boom operators. That's what I heard.
That's what he heard. You heard it here first. I hate the sound mixing community in DFW. No, I've been very fortunate to work with like really, really good sound people in my movies, and yes, I have. I don't hate you. So.
Thank you so much for being on this first episode.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Yes,
This is a blast. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah, we signing off.
See you guys on the next one.
Peace.